Crack a beer. It's time for open bar.
Strong and wild, we rise up high. Conquer fears, won't let them reside. Heartbeats pound as we take the dive. Living now feels so alive. Heart steel veins glowing bright. Fitness gone in the dead of night. Fading game, we got the sight. Crushing finance, career out of sight. Man up now, we own it true. Breaking chains, just me and you. Success stories everywhere. Living life beyond compare.
Showtime. Let's go, baby. Oh, dude, I love it. I am so glad that we are diving back into this because we had to finish it out. If we're going to do the 16 Commandments of Poon, we can't do just the first 7 and not close it all the way out. So, welcome, guys. I'm actually going to throw the StreamYard in the chat if you want to come on and talk with us about anything that is being discussed here. We don't want to derail the show too much, but at the same time, it's open bar. So it's open. All right. Well, Kevin, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I'm very excited to get into this. We got Paul.
We took a little detour
again.
last week because of the emergency show that we felt we had to do. But yeah, I'm ready to get back into it as well.
Absolutely. And Paul, thank you again for coming on, lending your expertise, because I know you do a lot of shows helping men improve.
I try, and man, I just love diving headfirst into the poon. You know, it's what a great topic. It's one of my favorite topics.
Dude, were you okay? Did you find it? Okay, when I sent that GIF of Hulk and Scarlett Johansson the other day,
Yeah.
I turned to my girl and I said, I have been sitting on this GIF for so long, and I just needed the perfect time to put it somewhere. And Paul gave me that opportunity. Did you find it as funny as I did?
Yeah, I've seen that GIF a bunch of times, but it never gets old. It's a dirty GIF. It's dirty, but the thing is that everyone knows that ScarJo's so mid, bro. Like everybody knows that.
I don't know, man. I don't know. ScarJo and Natalie Portman are the two that I kind of hold on my list for some reason.
Yeah. You saw my tweet about that, right? It got like 30 million views.
Oh, I need to recall. Like, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What exactly did you say on it?
So it was a picture I found on Facebook of Scarlett Johansson at the beach, and you know, she's a good-looking woman, right? Like let's not kid ourselves, right? But I was like, you know what I can do with this? I bet you I can trigger so many people. So I circled like her flaws. Like she had like a little bit of cellulite on her back leg, you know, and she didn't have a perfectly flat stomach. I mean, it was pretty good. It was better than most of these chicks out here, but I was like, I just circled her stomach and I circled her things. I go, man, Scarlett's so mid, bro. And that just completely blew up. People were losing their minds. It was awesome.
Oh, I remember that. That was hilarious. Just pointing out her flaws. Like, yep, see, guys?
See? Yeah. Can't believe you guys put this chick on a pedestal. She's
Oh,
a 4 at best. No.
That is so funny. I love it. I love it. At least you didn't get canceled like some other guys have been. But
no, but that post did get the community guideline or community notes added to it. So I didn't get monetized for it. You know, I didn't get paid for that awesome tweet.
It is what it is. Is what it is. And Josh, how are you?
That was spectacular. Just excited to be back in the studio with you guys, and yeah, continuing this conversation on a interesting topic, but also an interesting piece of the overall space as we again kind of go through documenting how we got to where we are today. Because to me, it's always real fascinating having seen firsthand all the little things that built up to where everything is now, and then just kind of taking a moment to kind of look back and reflect on, oh yeah, like at the time this was either groundbreaking and time proved out that it really was groundbreaking, or it was deeply flawed. So it's always interesting to get a little bit into the history of things.
Oh, absolutely. And dude, I'm so excited, as we were talking about last night, doing our cadence call and planning out this entire series. We have so much to go through. And I think it's so important for guys as well. A lot of times, you know, us old heads that have been here for a while, we understand the history. We know how we got here. But most people, their introduction to red pill or pickup artistry or anything like that happens to be things like Fresh and Fit, where every girl is at 304 and she's gonna cheat, so cheat on her first. You get other people. I don't know if I want to throw any names because I don't want to throw any shade, and that's no shade on Myron or Walt. Love those guys to death, but it's just, if you don't understand the basics, then you can't apply the information being given in the most successful manner.
Yeah, context is definitely key, because if you only see the very end of something, then you only see that one thing, right? So, if the only ever time you ever heard of a knife was because someone got stabbed, you wouldn't realize that knives have been around for a long time. Have been essential tools for building, for eating, for so many other things. But if you only saw just that one little piece, then you'd be like, oh my gosh, this is the ultimate like death weapon. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing with this ideology and this praxology, right? As it's been developed, if you only see one little bit at the very tail end, your perspective tends to get skewed on, oh my gosh, this is all that there is to it, when in reality there's actually a whole broader world and spectrum there.
Absolutely. So I'm just trying to pull up here the 16 commandments because we need to jump back into, I think we ended on number 7 last time.
Yeah.
So then we're going to move to number 8. So I'm pulling this up right now. And there we go. So we left off last time. Always keep 2 in the kitty. Oh, this is actually a shorter version of it. Josh, do you have that link to the original you could send to me?
Yes, I do. Let me fire it over your way.
Okay, so with number 8 and where we're going to start here, say you're sorry only when absolutely necessary. Do not say you're sorry for every wrong thing you do. It is a posture of submission that no man should reflexively adopt, no matter how alpha he is. Again, I fucking hate these terms. Apologizing increases the demand for more apologies. So I'm just going to say this right from the start on this one. This is kind of nonsense. And hear me out on this. It's nonsense in the fact that it skirts the man of taking accountability. I think that there is nothing wrong with acknowledging when you are doing something wrong, and you should say sorry. What it's really trying to say, at least in my interpretation, is that you need to acknowledge it when it's necessary to acknowledge it. There have been many times where I've had arguments with my girl, and I have to push a little bit harder on it and let go of certain things for her to realize that, yes, she's actually the one in the wrong. And I think that this is kind of a tricky one to work through. What do you guys think about this one?
I just did a whole stream on this.
Really?
Yeah, I did a whole stream on it last week. Because not only does Roissey talk about this, although Roissey, he's a little extreme here, right? He's like, you get two times that you can apologize in your relationship, so you use it wisely. I think that's a bit extreme, and I think some of that kind of stuff that Roissey says isn't to be taken seriously, and I don't think he expects people to take it seriously. But it's true. We tend to apologize for a lot of things that we don't need to apologize for. You'll find it that it's a habit where guys say they're sorry for every little thing. The other day in beer club, one of the guys, like right after the day after I did my stream, he posted a thing. He made some kind of random joke about Jesse from Breaking Bad. Right. And then he goes, I'm sorry, I'm just channeling my inner Jesse or something. And I was like, why are you sorry? You know, like, but we say it all the time because it's habit. It's a bad habit. I first learned about it in the book Atomic Attraction by Christopher Canwell. And he talks about it all the time, about how we have this habit of saying we're sorry when we don't need to, when things are not in our control, it's not our fault, but we're always apologizing. And that actually makes you look weaker. And so it's best to try to actively try to make a habit of not apologizing for things that you don't need to be apologized for. One thing that I do when someone's relative dies, I used to say, I'm sorry for your loss. I actively now, and this is just for me, you can do whatever you want, but because I didn't kill their loved one, you know, why am I apologizing for it? So I now just say, hey, my condolences, you know, and that's just something that just working through this stuff in the space that I have developed. And Thor talks about it in his book as well. He says, you know, if you truly wrong someone, then yeah, by all means apologize. But even then, just say mistakes were made and it won't happen again. You know, there's no need to sit there and constantly grovel and put yourself below somebody. And that's really, I think, what the essence is of this.
Yes, I 100%. Sorry, Kevin, I'll let you go in 1 second. I 100% agree with you. And I think that that's what's missing in the explanation of it, is that you apologize when necessary. And when you apologize, mean it. But just because you made a mistake, everybody makes mistakes every single day. But you're now forcing that mistake as a fault towards the other person when it's not always necessary. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you mistaking Josh's voice for mine. That means I've got a deep, manly voice. Bad. But no, I'll be quick because, you know, like Paul said, we're equating it to a book. Like Mark Manson talks about in Models, you know, it shows a sign of neediness if you're apologizing for things that you don't need to. And you're basically taking your vulnerability out, you know, especially if you make a joke that might have offended someone, you have no need to apologize because you were just showing your social vulnerability of being yourself. And so apologizing and overly apologizing shows a sign of weakness, and it shows a sign of neediness and a need for acceptance. And people read through that, especially women. They will read through that really quick, and it'll either turn them off or they will exploit it.
It's good.
And yeah, just building on what everybody else has said, and you know, now in the full rule, it goes on a little bit and it says, like, you know, even you know, pull a Bill Clinton maneuver, right? And you can say that mistakes were made, or, you know, I feel bad about what I did. So, you know, the rule is about, you want to take accountability, but you also want to take accountability from a position of strength, right? And so if you are continuously sort of shooting yourself in the foot with, you know, especially like in like book No or Mr. Nice Guy, right? What do a lot of nice guys do? They're always constantly apologizing for everything. Oh, I'm sorry. I just, you know, when you're overly apologetic, it makes you more meek, more meager, and less confidence inspiring. So there are ways to, you know, take on that accountability, but also, like, when you royally mess up, right? It's like, hey, now's when you need to, you know, really leverage the I'm sorry, right? Where, you know, if you left the cookies in the oven for an extra 5 minutes, it got slightly burnt, that's more of like, you know, mistakes were made. But if you forgot to go, you know, pick her up from the airport on your anniversary because you were getting drunk with your buddies, that's oh my goodness, I really dropped the ball, I'm really sorry, right? So I think that's the big thing from this detail, is that guys just get too apologetic in their day-to-day. And so that precedent, right, becomes ingrained in the nature of the relationships. And so it's all about the expectation, right? So if you are continuously showing yourself as apologetic, which gives off signs that you're not confident, that you're very meek, but also you're just easily controlled or swayed by the feelings and trying not to rock the boat or disturb anything, rather than being a self-actualized individual that's going to take full accountability for everything, then that's where this rule is pretty ironclad and solid, where it's saying like, hey, you got to know how to compose yourself.
Absolutely. I want to ask your guys' opinion on this specific point. So thank you, Paul, for grabbing the full article here. So what do you guys think about this line? You are granted 2 freebies. I'm sorry for the life of your, and the word entire is not there, but I'm going to put it there. I'm sorry for the life of your entire relationship. Use them wisely.
Yeah, this is one of those things. This is one of those things where, I swear, Roissey, you can't take everything he says seriously. And I'm sure he threw that in there as like a joke kind of thing. There's no way that someone could read this and not that's someone who's reading this and is a spurg will do this. And then they will literally, destroy their own relationship. It's not a good idea. It's totally absurd.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm so mixed on this, and I've just been kind of like figuring this out as I go along in life. These I'm sorry's, it's there's a gravity behind it, because there's an I'm sorry, like, oh, I fucked up, and I'm not really acknowledging the fact that it's my fault. And then there's a truly heartfelt I'm sorry. So they're very different, and I think that the gravity is lost when it's kind of like spaced out this way or said this way. Do you guys understand what I'm saying with that?
Yeah. And I mean, I think my take on this is that it's very much, he's not exactly saying, he's using a little bit of hyperbole here, but he's saying like, hey, you have a few genuine, authentic I'm sorry's over the lifetime of your relationship. So make sure you use them when they count and when they really matter. So if you just think of, oh my gosh, if I only ever had, if you only ever had 2 I'm sorry's, right? You would make absolutely sure that, you would use them absolutely 100% when it was.
So hold on. Are you saying then when it comes to the I'm sorry's, only get on your knees when absolutely necessary?
Yeah, I would say that it's one of those situations where, again, it's the understanding that if you continuously use I'm sorry all the time, you dilute it and it kind of becomes nothing, right? It's wind and noise. But you have a very few limited number of those I'm sorry's in there. So use them when absolutely necessary. And he's using 2, I think, as hyperbole in order to stress the importance of it. But, there is a big difference between a guy who says I'm sorry 30 times a day versus a guy that says I'm sorry maybe 2 or 3 times a month when he really does make a big bumble, right? So there's understanding that you have a limited supply of these. And so, again, the more rare something is, the more value that it has. So
one thing I just want to add real quick is I have a friend who he hates red pill, right? Absolutely hates red pill. He thinks it's all games and manipulation. And I told him, I go, a lot of this stuff, it might start off as games and manipulation, but what it's really supposed to do is cause you to break bad habits, break unattractive bad habits. That's all. You don't have to follow this to the letter. Really, what they're trying to teach you is stop over apologizing when you don't need to, and only apologize when you actually need to. It's pretty simple.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, 100% with you on that. Let's hit the Kevin, do you have anything final on this one?
I just wanted to caveat on what Josh said is you only use it when you absolutely have to, when you basically fucked up that bad. Because if you're saying it too much, it dilutes it. It's not going to mean as much to your partner or to even a friend. And it's a way to keep yourself in check as well. Because if you're having to sincerely say, I'm sorry on a regular basis, you need to change your own actions is all I had to say.
Yeah, I'm interested actually, because this is bringing back a lot of memories for me. If you have to say I'm sorry and sincerely mean it more than once every, I guess I would say year, maybe we could pull it down to 6 months, then you got a problem. and you need to look inward on yourself and like, why am I letting people down in my life?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's jump to the next one here. So from there, connect with her emotions. Set yourself apart from other men and connect with a woman's emotional landscape. Her mind is an alien world that requires deft navigate. Dude, this guy was such a nerd. Requires deft navigation to reach your rendezvous. Frolic in the surf of emotions rather than the arid desert of logic. Be playful. Employ all your senses. Describe in lush detail scenarios to set her heart afire. Give your feelings freedom to roam. Roam. Yes, that is a good word. You're not on a linear path with her. You are roaming all over, taking her on an adventure. In this world, there is no need to finish thoughts or draw conclusions. There is only need to experience. You're grabbing her hand and running with her down an infinite labyrinthine alleyway with no end, laughing and letting your fingers glide on the cobblestone walls along the way. What do you guys think about that?
He understands the landscape, because this is something I've had to like help so many guys with to try and wrap their heads around and comprehend, is that it's, well, I said this and I did this, and it's just a pure like logic. And it's like, the example I use is like, again, we're like the trainers in SeaWorld on the little guys working at SeaWorld on the land. That's what we know. It's a very solid, stable environment. Meanwhile, girls are more like orcas, insanely intelligent, but they live in that very fluid, dynamic realm of the ocean. And so that is their area of mastery and supremacy. So you have to understand how to swim and understand how dynamic that environment is in order to get the best out of those relationships and just have a better understanding of how to navigate things where they go forward. So I think this is a really important rule for a lot of guys to pay attention to, because again, so many times guys don't understand that concept of, hey, if I don't connect with her emotions, it doesn't matter what I do for her logically. All that is for naught. It all kind of goes out the window because there isn't that emotional connection there.
Yeah, Paul, I want to come to you on this one. I think you have a lot of good insight on this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. This is it's one of those things too where guys sort of think that when they come to this space and they're trying to get good with girls, they're trying to find some kind of paint by numbers system, right? If I do A, she'll do B, and if I do C, she'll do D, right? And it's like, that's not how any of this works. And largely a lot of that kind of stuff just comes down to, you can't be boring with women. Like, they have to constantly be engaged emotionally. A lot of guys, their relationships end and they're like, I did all this stuff for her. I paid the bills. I took care of all the oil changes. I did all this stuff. It's like that has no impact on her emotions, and women are emotional creatures. Wait,
hold on. Paul. You're saying to me that paying the bills doesn't make a girl wet?
It doesn't. I had this guy. I was talking about this on the podcast yesterday. I had this guy that I'm coaching. And God bless this guy. Love this guy to death. But he sends this text to a chick, and she asks him, "Hey, what are you doing, this weekend or something?" And he was going to go off-roading. And so he has a like a quad, right? And so he tells her, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go out quadding with my 30-inch tires and 30,000 horsepower, awesome quad, masculine, blah, blah." Right. And he tells her all this stuff. And then he turns it around and gets her to, answer another question or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, you did some disclosure there, which is good. You probably gave a little too much away, but you kept the conversation going. I go, what I would avoid in the future is talking about fucking tires and horsepower, because women don't give a shit about that. Like, guys care about that sort of thing. Women don't even know what that means. What they want to know is your quad cute? You know, women just, they think differently than men. And a lot of guys, they try to treat women like men, and they get frustrated when they're not men. It's like, well, they're completely different. You know, they're completely different. You have to, if you want to, and I told him, I was like, hey man, if you want to do better with them, you have to understand where they're coming from. And he's like, I don't care where they're coming from. And all their stuff is boring. I go, dude, you need to have tactical empathy here. You know, you need to actively understand where they're coming from so that you can act accordingly to get your needs met. But if you just completely disregard all that stuff, you're never going to get anywhere, you know?
And that's the key thing you said, was that paint by numbers. Too many guys, it's that pure logic paint by numbers. Oh, I do A, she's going to react like B. And it's like, no. Like, all of this is that way. When you do A, you could go to B, or you could go all the way to Z. It just really depends on the way in which you go about A. So it's that linear logic that guys get too trapped into, is, oh, I do A and then B happens. It's like, no. You do A and maybe 4 happens. You might get into the number territory. So understanding the dynamic nature of the environment that you're in. That's why I've always been a big fan of this role, and I've always loved this one.
And I'll tell you what, true mastery, and this is where dread game and stuff comes in. True mastery is when you're able to force, like, let's play that A to Z. You can go from A all the way down to, let's just say, O. And then you get to O, which is like, if we're going to think of it in hierarchies of A is the best and Z is the worst, you can pull her all the way down to O, knowing that you're going to pull her back up. I mean, that's one of the things that Thor has always shared. I love that story where you ask your girl to go ahead and make you, like, I don't know, it could be like a breakfast burrito. And then she goes ahead and she makes that breakfast burrito, and you're all excited. She spent a lot of time on it. You go, you pick it up, you take a bite of it. And then immediately after taking a bite of it, you just throw it back down on the plate and you just look at her. And she's going to ask, what's wrong? What's wrong? That's the best goddamn burrito I've ever had in my entire life. And I don't know how I'm supposed to eat another. So you can, like, pull these levels in different ways. Kevin, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, no, I agree with what all you're saying, especially you, Paul, with the guy trying to qualify himself with his quad and talking about specs and stuff like that. The hot Tua girl might know what that stuff is, but most girls aren't. They're going to want to see the color scheme and see if it matches the shorts they're wearing. But when you connect with a woman on an emotional level, especially if she can see that you're connecting with her the way you don't interact with other females, it's going to deepen her attraction and her attachment to you. And it doesn't mean you have to be, overly emotional with her or pour your feelings out. If you just give her a little bit here and there that she sees you don't give to other women, especially out in public, when it's just the two of you, you're a little bit more emotionally vulnerable. That's really going to pull at her heartstrings.
That's a good point. I want to jump to the next one here. Ignore her beauty. I'll tell you what, guys, and we know this, but maybe not everybody does. And any new viewers, again, welcome to join. If you want to hop in, and if you got the balls to go ahead and hop in and talk with us, by all means, the link is in the chat. But this is interesting because this was one of the hardest things that I ever had to learn. Ignore her beauty. Because the most beautiful girls actually get approached the least. So, ignore her beauty. The man who trains his mind to subdue the reward centers of his brain when reflecting upon a beautiful female face. Well, yeah, this guy's totally autistic. Will magically transform his interactions with women. His apprehension and self-consciousness will melt away, paving the path for more honest and self-possessed interactions with the objects of his desire. Okay, now women are objects. Yeah, this guy's totally autistic. Okay, this is one reason why the greatest Lotharios drown in more love than they can handle. Through positive experiences with so many beautiful women, they lose their awe of their beauty and, in turn, their powerlessness under its spell. It will help you to acquire the right frame of mind to stop using the words hot, cute, gorgeous, or beautiful to describe girls who turn you on. Instead, say to yourself, she's interesting, or she might be worth getting to know. Never compliment a girl on her looks, especially not a girl you aren't fucking. Turn off that part of your brain that wants to put them on pedestals. Further advanced dude, I can't fucking read this guy anymore. We're gonna go through the rest of it, but like, come on, like I do that all the time. Like, even in like modern day approach, it works. Like,
oh yeah,
you were just cute, and I wanted to say hello. And it comes back to some things that we have talked about previously, where like even like baseline interaction, like you could just like wave to a girl and she'll be confused, but if she's attracted to you, it's an open. It's like one of those soft opens.
I mean, I think it's, again, as a more general rule, I think, one, this is something that a lot of guys have a lot of trouble with and really need to learn as well too, is just turning off that, oh my gosh, this girl is like so insanely gorgeous, because there are a lot of girls out there, and there is science that shows that, you physically become dumber around people that you find highly attractive, right? So especially being out in LA, where it's just like, oh my goodness, there's just an insane amount of just visually incredibly attractive women everywhere.
Well, hold on, Josh. I have to ask you, because you do a lot of model photo shoots.
Yep.
How do you not get a boner, and how do you not get nervous?
One, you have to cycle into, all right, especially during a photo shoot, right? I'm in professional mode, right? So it's more about the shot and what I'm looking for. So all the other whatever, all I care about is just the task at hand, which is getting that exact shot that I'm looking for. So you kind of go into this very, very professional mode, because again, the photographers that don't instantly become creepers and get blacklisted so really fast. So it's very important to create that separation, but this does build upon this rule as well too, because again, when you start getting into and interacting with a lot of people, you may find, and as the old saying goes, right, light travels faster than sound. That's why people appear to be attractive until you hear them speak. So you want to suss out kind of that vibe, because again, there's plenty of very visually attractive people out there, but until you start talking with them, interacting with them, conversing with them, you suddenly don't get, the real sense of who they are and that vibe, and even if you are attracted to them. And so how many times have guys, gone through experiences where they wind up meeting a girl, they wind up hooking up, but then they have that like pit of regret like the next day or whatever, because it's like, well, she was hot, but everything else was just like annoying or, just crazy or whatever. So when you train yourself to, ignore that beauty factor first, you get to, one, authentically see the person for who they are. And girls can tell when you're trying to connect with who they actually are versus just seeing the beauty that they have to offer. And then two, you can really understand, okay, do we actually have like a good vibe? So that way, whatever interactions we have a good solid foundation and basis in order to have something that actually is meaningful, even if it's only a night together or it's, a lifetime together. You're trying to build towards that authentic, meaningful type of situation. And so you have to ignore the beauty factor off the bat, because that's something that trips up a lot of guys or anything. And a lot of guys out there, and this is where the term simping comes from, a lot of guys out there will do a lot of crazy stuff just because a girl is really hot. Do all sorts of crazy stuff.
Oh my God, yeah. And I want to dive into this a little bit deeper, but that's going to come with the next one, the next commandment. So, Kevin, I want to go to you. What are your thoughts on this?
I love what Josh said. And, you don't, like you said, they get post the least. And when they do get approached, oh my God, you're so gorgeous. I've never seen someone as beautiful as you. Compliment her outfit. Compliment something other than her looks. And like Josh said, what is the task at hand? Keep your eye on the goal, is to get to know her. And that's where some PUA stuff can come in. Look her in the eyes. If you're looking her in the eyes, unless they're the most piercing, beautiful eyes you've ever seen, sorry about that, guys, then you can engage her and talk to her just like she's a normal person or she's an average. And she will appreciate that you're not looking at her breast and you're not staring at her legs because she's used to that. And that's what she's going to. So if you keep the task at hand and stay with the goal in mind of, I want to get to know her and talk to her like most guys don't, then you're going to be more successful.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Before we go to you, Paul, one thing I want to say on that is, yes, it is an old PUA technique, I guess so to say, but pick out the thing that's most important to her. And now, what do I mean by that? Now, let's say, for example, she's wearing a bracelet that's very strange and you're not like used to seeing people wear something like that. Or let's say, I don't know, I'll make something up. She's wearing elephant earrings. That's the thing you point out.
Yep.
When you go ahead and you interact with somebody and you point out the thing that is so obscure and you know has to have some type of personal attachment to them, whether that be an actual like interaction, whether it be something that they were given from a family member or a friend, sometimes previous relationship, but doesn't matter. But pick out the thing that is so unique, because the only reason they're wearing it is because it's unique. And when you support that, it makes them feel good and it opens them a lot better than completely ignoring it.
And just to build on that really quick, is just, it's the exact inverse of the I'm sorry's, right? Because if you're saying the I'm sorry's all the time, right, it doesn't mean anything. Beautiful women know that they're beautiful, especially in the day and age of social media. So being able to go beyond that and see what is really there and how you connect and vibe, then, after you've gotten to know her for a while and you've gone out a couple times and you like look in her eyes and say like, you are truly a beautiful person. Now, all of a sudden, when you're telling her that she's beautiful, which she's getting all these compliments all the time, it has more weight. It means more, and it draws a deeper connection for you guys.
Oh, what is going on here? It looks like we have a Flash member joining.
Oh, no, I'm out of here. If we got this guy on the show, I'm out.
Laurent, my man, how are you? I'm not hearing you. Are you there?
We can't hear you, Laurent.
I think he's muted.
No, he's not. I think it's on his out.
Yeah, Laurent, check your audio settings, because, dude, I want you to dive in. You got so much knowledge on this stuff. But I think that this it's been so fantastic so far. Paul, do you have any closing thoughts on ignoring her beauty before we move to the next one?
This was something I learned when I read Corey Wayne's How to Be a 3% Man. And it comes down to the fact that gorgeous women know they're gorgeous. You don't have to tell them. Everyone tells them. They've been told that their whole lives. They post a picture on Instagram. They get 5 million simps going, "Oh, you're so gorgeous. Oh my God, you're stunning." And so the one guy who doesn't do that and just treats her, like a human being and doesn't put her on a pedestal, he's actually setting himself apart. He's being one of the 3% guys because he's not doing that. He's one of the few guys that's not putting her on a pedestal. 97% of the other guys out there are putting her on a pedestal. So when you don't do it, you by law, you set yourself apart.
I have to say, like, with this whole thing, essentially what you're doing, you're not setting yourself apart. You're essentially just being realistic. So when we talk about like the logical type of stuff that we were talking about earlier, so you're just being logical and being normal. And through doing so, everything works itself out, because that's what she's looking for. She's looking for a natural flow. It's not that difficult, but yet guys overcomplicate it, and then they put certain women on pedestals, and then things go off the rails, and then it's just we're all on the same page on this.
Yeah.
Laurent,
can you hear me?
Yes, got you, brother. Oh, Laurent, you need an introduction. Give it to us.
Oh, yesterday I was on the train. Now I'm in my beach house in Shimoda. Yesterday I was on the train.
Wait, you have a beach house?
Yeah, I have a beach house. Dude, that beach house. I mean, if you're on the deck, that thing will raise the birth rate of Japan by 10 basis points. If you don't get, I mean, in this beach house, if you don't get laid with your woman, you got a problem. Fast forward, I never got laid with mine here, but I got laid a lot. But yesterday I had an Austin Powers moment. You know, like Austin Powers, like the bucket list. Like, we're Japanese twins. Fuck me and fuck you. So I was on the train, and I was going to, and I literally had 3 minutes. I got on the train, got at the next station, and I saw two Japanese twins. They're 26-year-old. They're Momo and Nana, and they were oozing open for business. You know, like, you know what I mean? And I immediately went and talked to them. And I didn't have time to get their coordinates because it was only 3 minutes. Like, I got in, got out. Oh, that was, and like all the Japanese, there was a Japanese dude standing right next to me. It was fairly crowded train too. And the guy was laughing like, oh, I saw you have the same shoes, you have the same bag. Are you twins? Yeah. So how does it feel to talk to one another? Does it feel like looking in the mirror? Yeah. And like, do you really like? So you must think like, and I was nagging them, and they loved it. So you must think like, oh, もうこの人と喋ったらしつこいだね. Like, oh, you must be an annoying one. Like, and they look at me like, what? And they were very, very hot, very hot. Like they were oozing open for business, and like they looked at me to say what, to echo what you said. Like, don't compliment them on their beauty, and they were like, wait a minute. And they literally told me like, nobody has ever talked to us like this. And they were like, they were having it. They were having a great time.
Giddy.
One of them pulled her phone, and I had to leave the train. I was like, oh shit, I should have stayed on that one. I should have worked the case. But just to echo what you said, don't compliment them on their beauty, because everybody does that. Everybody does that.
Yeah, it's all about standing out. And I think that's one thing that people don't really understand. Like, I've had a client that has visited me before. And when we went out, I love this story. When we went out, everything was kind of like low. Like, things weren't really like moving forward, at least on the dance floor and in the entire environment. And so I was like, watch this. And so I went from the second floor where we were at, and I went down to the dance floor, and then I just crab walked straight across the entire dance floor in front of the entire venue. So you've got hundreds of people just looking at me being a fucking idiot. Mm-hmm. And what happened afterwards? Everybody came to the dance floor. Everybody felt awkward to come to the dance floor. As soon as I did that, it just opened things up. And then I actually had women open me afterwards. It's like that simple. And I just don't understand. Like, everybody gets two in their heads, like, especially guys, because we're trying to think through this logically. And as we think through it logically, it doesn't logically make sense. But let's go back to what, the previous one was all about. Connect with her emotions. It's about bringing her on a fantasy trip. And if you bring her on that ride, she's going to be all about it. And yeah, that's what's going to make her wet.
Yeah. That's another great technique we'll talk about later, about maybe dancing obnoxiously just to get the attention, especially if nobody else is dancing. And then later on, you can show her that you got some really good moves. that's another technique that we'll get into. But yes, little things like that. Whenever while the other guys are sitting like this up against the wall, trying to look like the baddest motherfucker on the planet, and you're out there having a good time, women notice that, and they would much rather hang out with you than the tough guy sitting on the corner with his drink at his chest. But they see you out there having a good time, they want to be with you, not the guy sitting over there trying to look cool.
Women are like,
experience that? Do you guys experience that a lot? Because that happens to me all the time. I don't know if it's a Philly thing, but it's always the tough guy in the corner.
You know,
oh yeah. There's wallflowers everywhere. They're afraid to do anything. It's like, and I've always been the fun outgoing guy, you know, and women are like horses, man. They're curious. And if they see that you're having a good time, they're like, what's going on over there? You know, I think
dude, I can't get over this. I can't get over the head nod.
As the great American philosopher Cyndi Lauper used to say, girls just want to have fun.
I forgot about that, Laurent. Thank you so much. That's so
Laurent. I swear to God.
True. But
I think it goes over. Hold on one second. I think it goes over everybody's head when you say that, the great philosopher, and then you always quote somebody ridiculous. I think that joke goes over everybody's head, but every time I am just cracking up inside. All right, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, she's a lyrical poet, though, man. I mean, another place that you guys will probably see it as well is in the gym. All the guys walk around the gym like they're the baddest motherfucker on the planet, evil eye on all the other guys, you know, catching their little glimpses at the girls in the leggings, that kind of stuff. But if you go in there with a smile and you're actually talking to people, guys and girls, you set yourself apart from all those other guys that are ego lifting and mean mugging everybody like they're going to kick their ass if they look at them do a rep. I noticed that in the gym. And so I make it a point to talk to people. And if you watch one of our shows, I tried an old school PUA line or routine, and it worked the other day on some 20-something Latinas, you know. So you see it everywhere where guys are the norm. Is if you just got to be a little bit different than them, just to spark that little intrigue, like Paul said, the curiosity that makes them want to get to know you. Because if you're just like everybody else, just like everybody that compliments the super hot girl, you're never going to be as successful as you can be.
It's a good point. Laurent, did you have something else you wanted to say
about the gym? I never approach girls in the gym. I never approached. Although last time I was in the Tokyo American Club, there was this hot young chick, but I know the father. So I was doing a machine, then she comes to the next machine. And I was doing the next one, and then she comes. Because I'm cracking up. I always say hello to a bunch of people too. Exactly what you say. Be the personable dude. So, are they? Nanda. Sorry, gentlemen. I just had a phone call.
No problem.
You know, they say a lot, you know, it's creepy to talk to girls in the gym, and I say absolutely not. What you say can be.
Although
creepy.
these days, you know, these days there are trends. Well, look at this creepy old guy looking at me. Well, girl, if you show up in a bikini in the gym, it's a bit incongruent, isn't it? So there's this whole trend. What's the name of the big? There's a big buff dude who do
Joyce
better.
Wolf.
What's his name?
Yeah, Joyce Wolf. Yeah.
Oh, Joey Swole, dude, I love his stuff. It really is fantastic. And you know what? On that, I want to make sure that we are keeping with time. And so I want to hit the next one here. And then from that, we will close out. So I really want to know your guys' opinion on this. Be irrationally self-content. Or, self-content. Jesus Christ, I can't even speak. That's why it's open bar. Be irrationally self-confident. No matter what your station in life, stride through the world without apology or excuse. It does not matter if objectively you are not the best man a woman can get. What matters is what you think and act like you are. Women have a dog's instinct for uncovering weakness in men. Don't make it easy for them. Self-confidence, warranted or not, triggers submissive, emotional responses in women. Irrational self-confidence will get you more pussy than rational defeatism. I have a lot of thoughts, but I'm going to turn it to you guys first. Who's going first?
This is law of attraction. I'm going to be doing a whole episode about this tomorrow, but our how we think causes our actions cause our results. And everyone has a paradigm, and our paradigm was developed when we were a child. And that paradigm is programmed with lots of stuff, toxic shame, low self-esteem, low self-worth, all that kind of stuff. If you have that kind of programming, you're going to walk around, you're going to carry yourself like someone who's meek, someone who's shy. Maybe you're going to think that you're not worthy of love. So you're going to have very closed off body language, and you're going to do this without even thinking about it, because that's a part of your paradigm, and your paradigm is just a series of habits that you do without thinking about it. And so if you can reprogram that into believing that you are a confident guy, that you're an attractive guy, that you could get any chick you want, if you can program that into you, you are going to carry yourself that way, and women will notice it. And that's why he says, it doesn't matter your station in life. If objectively someone else looks at you and goes, "Oh, he's a fat slob. How does he possibly get women?" I get that all the time. I'm a guy that walks around with ball caps and t-shirts, and I'm talking about picking up chicks. And guys are like, "How does this guy possibly get chicks? Because he doesn't walk around in a suit." No, I don't. I don't need to. I don't need to, because I would tell myself when I was out in the dating circuit, I'm the most attractive man in Colorado. And I would carry myself that way. And you start to notice it when you believe it. And it all comes down to your belief system.
I think it's interesting though, because it makes sense to an extent, right? When you go too far, the irrational self-confidence leads you into a kind of a dark place where, like, I'm better than.
It can. That's why you want to pay attention to, the warning signs. So again, there's a lot of guys are calibrating themselves, right? Like, when I was first sort of on my self-development journey and kind of had like a lot of these different ideas. I remember this one specifically because fortune does favor the bold, while history does tend to forget the timid. So, you're out and you're playing and you're experimenting, but sometimes, right, you'll hear the statement, you have a very high opinion of yourself, or you're extremely confident, right? And so sometimes that's like a little bit of a shit test, but sometimes that's people saying like, hey, yellow light, you might be going a little bit too far where you're being an asshole. So it's always, in some level of moderation is what will help you best. But the core idea of, it's definitely far better to be more rationally self-confident than it is to be more of a defeatist. That will carry you a lot further. But again, do it within a certain realm of responsibility. Because again, the biggest, player boy out there that I know that's, dated a lot of girls, he's only 5'5", but he used to tell me, he's like, I'm 5'5", but my attitude's 7 feet tall. So he had that irrational confidence that, again, just kind of carried him through. And so, that's the most important thing, is having that there as your baseline rather than, being self-defeating. But to your point, Huds, you can, again, if you're that guy that's just like, oh, all right, I have to be completely irrationally confident about it. Yeah, you can easily go into the dark side really quick with it. So
I just want to piggyback on that. Like, if I used to get that a lot, oh, you think highly of yourself, or I'd tell chicks to meet me at a certain place. They'd be like, oh, you're bossy. And my response was always the same, but you like it. You like it. And they would always go, yeah, because chicks actually do respond to this. And that's what it comes down to, right? There's things that women say they want, there's things that they think they want, and then there's things that they respond to. They respond to a guy who has irrational confidence.
Yeah. It's just reality. And it's wild. Laurent, you got something to say?
Yeah, we've all been in the friend zone, right? And chicks, they all
no, you're canceled. You're canceled.
Nobody in this
No,
has
okay.
been in the friend zone, right? Okay, I'm the only one who's ever been in the friend zone. So okay, let me give you some perspective from the friend zone. You know, there's always this chick, like, she talks about this dude. "Oh, I hate him. He's so arrogant. He's so full of himself." And then when the friend zone, yeah, but I'm not like that. And then now I'm like, yeah, but this guy gets laid. This guy gets the girl. So you gotta be that guy. You gotta be the not necessarily like arrogant and full of yourself, but very confident, because chicks dig it. Chicks dig it. I mean, I'm not gonna go into stories because I don't want to self-incriminate, but yeah, you have to project that, and girls really like it. They like to be led. I mean, every girl, even the feminists, like they always want to be led. I want to find a real man. I'm gonna be a feminine with a real man. But I'm a nice guy. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Nice guys don't get the chicks, and that's my 2 cents on it.
No, that's
like that.
This is one of those ones that somebody new in the space, especially a young guy, can read this and take it out of context and become a narcissist rather than a confident person. You know, even if it's unfounded, though, done the right way. There's one word that you said while you were reading, Alex. It's unapologetically, and that's a kind of goes into what we've been talking about. The first one we talk about: don't over apologize. If you're unapologetic and you're confident, and it's just like Paul alluded to, you just change your mindset on a few things. Like one thing, like if you're going to approach a girl, if you have it in your mind, oh my God, is she going to like me? You're not going to be able to be that confident. But if you change that mindset and say, man, I wonder if I'm going to like her, that can make you a little bit more confident. And so it's as far as the way it reads, be irrationally self-confident. It's hard to, I'm sorry, I take that back. It's easy to take that in the wrong way and become a narcissist and just be an asshole. And that might get a few chicks, but the ones that get, you're probably not going to want to have anything more than maybe a one-night stand with them. But if you can find the boldness in yourself and be unapologetic in the way you carry yourself, you're going to set yourself apart.
See, I sort of disagree with you on that. The being perceived as a narcissist or becoming a narcissist isn't necessarily a bad thing, because women do respond very well to dark triad traits, right? Dark triad traits are narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. And if you exhibit a lot of those traits, women do respond very well to that. And it's not a difference between good girls versus bad girls. Like, women are women and they respond to what they respond to. And a lot of those traits make them actually feel safe and secure. That's why every girl's ex-boyfriend was a narcissist, because they're attracted to those types of guys.
I was about to say the same thing. Like, they always complain, oh, but he was such a narcissistic. Yeah, well, he got the girl. He got results. So being narcissistic, they really like it. There's actually this is one of their shit tests. This weekend, I think it was last Sunday, I just came back from drinking champagne in one of the Imperial Gardens with a chick. And then I bumped into another one. And she looked at me like, whoa, you really, are you flirting with me? Of course, baby girl. What do you think? I'm going to fuck you like and it was 30 seconds in the interaction. I'm going to fuck you like I'm going to make you forget your birthday. Well, how about that? Well, fast forward, we had coffee and so on and so forth, and she had to go. But we still, actually, I just received an email from her. So you really got to push for. One thing that I've realized is push the envelope. If you're confident, you can push the envelope much, much, much further. And girls like it. Being very, very playful, they like it. I was surprised. The stuff that I can get away with being really confident, without being overly, how should I say, because we're in Japan, so I'm not going to be overly demonstrative in public. But girls like it because nobody does that. So set yourself apart.
Laurent, I have literally, so I have 2 notches on my belt by walking up to a girl and saying, I have diarrhea. That's the truth, dude. That's the truth. That's how ridiculous it is. As long as you're confident in yourself, it really doesn't matter what you say, because women are picking up not just on the physical attraction, but the energy that is brought with the interaction.
The one I was
Let me
talking
ask
to.
you guys this: Have you guys ever been called cocky by a female?
Of course.
Oh,
you're cocky.
That means she wants to fuck.
I hear it all the time, and I'm supposed to take it as an insult. But yeah, if a girl says, "Oh, you're kind of cocky," just nod.
Game on. It means game on.
And remember, when you're formulating this, it's like you have to do it within the realm of reason, right? And leverage like different cues and nuances, right? You can, because you can take it too far, right? Where either you wind up torpedoing the interaction, or you wind up like, pissing off the people that are like around you in some sense. So you always want to make sure that in the back of your mind, you're always being very aware of where things are. So, and that's the beauty of these interactions and situations, is that, you do like a little bit of a test and you see where it goes. Like, oh, okay, cool. Here's where the line is. Okay, let me go a little bit further. Okay, here's where the line is. Okay, let me go a little further. Okay, here's an absolute wall. All right, cool. Now I know the boundary layers for the arena that I'm playing in. So, again, the advice here isn't just do whatever you want and go at like, off the rails extreme, but go a little bit, push the envelope. But again, when you hit those walls, now you know where the walls are, and okay, everybody knows where everything is at. But moderation is a really, really important thing to factor in, because you do have to have this thing called, right, situational awareness, because that's where a lot of guys wind up in situations where, they wind up getting, Me Too'd or something like that. And it's not necessarily because they had, malintent. It was just because they were socially inept, so they couldn't read where that line was and wound up going past the wall. So that's something to be very, very careful of.
That's a good point. I want to segue this if we can, guys, because I do want to be able to close this out today. So segueing exactly what you just said, Josh. Maximize your strengths, minimize your weaknesses. In the betterment of ourselves as men, we attract women into our orbit. To accomplish this gravitational pull as painlessly and efficiently as possible, you must identify your natural talents and shortcomings and parcel your efforts accordingly. If you are a gifted joker, don't waste time and energy trying to raise your status in philosophical debate. If you write well but dance poorly, don't kill yourself trying to expand your manly influence on the dance floor. Your goal should be to attract women effortlessly. So play to your strengths no matter what they are. There is a groupie for every male endeavor. Disagree with that last point, because that is actually when he says except World of Warcraft. Oh my god, dude, I can't even do my W's and R's. This is the list that I've had like my entire life, and it's just so fucking annoying. Regardless, on my very first date with my girl that I've been with we're coming up on 4 years now. On the very first date, I asked her this question because I was still learning myself. I asked her the question, what moment was it that you decided you wanted to have sex with me? Because yes, we did. Yeah, sorry guys, we had sex 5 times that night. I asked her that question because I wanted the answer. Because again, I was thinking logically. And what she said to me, when you mentioned the video game that you've been playing for 7 years, it wasn't the fact that you played video games and you were a nerd and I enjoyed that. It was the fact that you were so passionate about it.
Wow.
That completely flipped everything. It was all because I spoke with passion about nonsense that she wanted to open her legs. That is crazy to think about. And so that's one thing that I want you guys to pay attention to with this one, of maximizing your strengths and minimizing your weaknesses. If you're a nerd, totally fine to lean into it, but lean into it in a way that makes sense. And if you're going to lean into it because you believe in it. A lot of people will go, oh yeah, I'm a nerd. and then they can't back it up with anything. So don't go ahead and lean into something that you're not all about, but lean into the things that you are all about. What do you guys think about that? Cricket.
This is the maximize your strengths type thing.
Yeah, maximize the strengths and minimize your weaknesses, and that's why I was using that example.
Yeah, that's a good example. This is one of those things where, guys have so many self-limiting beliefs in this space, right? I'm too short. I'm not 6 feet tall. I don't have six-pack abs. I don't have whatever. It's like, okay, so maybe you're not 6 feet tall. So go to the gym and get jacked, man. There's other things that you could do to make yourself an attractive guy. You don't have to be 6 feet tall. Most chicks can't measure shit anyway. They just want a guy that's taller than them. So if you're a 5'7" king, go date a 5 foot chick and go get ripped. Like you're going to be fine. Okay. So maximize, control the controllable, really is what it comes down to.
Yeah. And, building on top of that, it's just that, life is very much like a poker game, right? You're dealt the cards you're dealt, and you don't know what's coming down the river, right? So once you start seeing what's coming down the river, you have to play your hand as absolutely best as you possibly can. There's no point in complaining about, oh, well, I don't have this card, or, oh, like I, wish I could have, had an extra card here or whatever. Like, hey, this is what you're dealt. This is how you have to play it, and you have to play it to the absolute best of your ability. So, all right, whatever those inherent strengths are, because every guy has some set of strengths that are very unique to him. And yeah, maybe some guys have, other strengths that, might seem or be perceived as, oh my gosh, this guy's better, or this guy's further ahead, or whatever. That's just the level playing field. Because again, how many times have we seen guys with really terrible hands come out victorious and win entire tournaments because they were able to play their hands very, very smartly and very, very creatively? So that's really what you need to focus in on. This is, instead of like trying to, make up for or wish that you had something that you don't have. Okay, great. This is a weakness of mine. You know what? I need to make sure that this is going to be minimized, but these are the strengths that I have. I'm going to go full all in on those strengths and really let that guide where I go. That's going to carry you so much further and give you a lot more success. Because again, it's just not always like, the hand that you're dealt, but it's more often like how you play that hand.
Josh, I got a problem with what you said. Are you telling me that I cannot become the best dressage? Is that what it's called? Dressage? Person in the world? Do you know what that is? Dressage?
No idea.
Oh, it is. It's fancy horse dancing. So
okay. Yeah. I mean, hey, if you have a knack for it and work for it, hey, go for it. But I figured that.
But I'm not the best
for you.
But I do. I want to double down on what you just said right there. Focus on what you're good at and ride with it. That is what is most important.
Yeah, you definitely, and especially when it comes to like me, I'm 5'6". So, here in the last couple of years, it seemed like the 6 foot thing has become more important than anything else, especially if you watch too much YouTube. It was never a thing, and it's never bothered me. I've never let that, oh, I'm not going to approach her. She looks 5'7". I'm only 5'6". And I've dated women that were 5'8.5". Because I had the confidence and I didn't let it bother me. I didn't make jokes about myself because I'm short. I just didn't let it seem like it affected me. Almost like Paul said earlier, you're 5'6", but with a 6'3" attitude, and that's what you can play on, the things that you're strong at, which is talking, being yourself, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to physical stuff, if you don't like it, change it. I can't change the fact that I'm not tall, but I can change the size of my biceps. I can change my 6-pack abs. I can put in the work to do that instead of just bitching about it. But, you downplay your flaws, but the things that you are good at, be very good at them and get better at them. And that will help you in the long run, instead of getting down on yourself that, my dad's 5'6" and my mom's 4'10". They didn't give me a chance. So what am I supposed to do? Say I'll take some supplements or just make jokes about myself because I'm short? No, fuck no. That makes me look weak. But I can play up on the things that I am good at, and that's being self-confident.
That is such a great point. I absolutely love that. I don't want to harp on this point too much because we're going to blow past the other one, and I want to make sure that we can hit the rest of them. But I do want to go ahead and share this next one. So this is kind of what we've been talking about. Err on the side of too much boldness rather than too little. Touching a woman inappropriately on the first date will get you further with her than not touching her at all. Interesting statement. Don't let a woman's foe indignation at your boldness sway you. They secretly love it when a man aggressively pursues what he wants and makes his sexual intentions known. You don't have to be an asshole, but if you have no choice, being an inconsiderate asshole beats being a polite beta every time. Who wants to take this first?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I got that. Oh, my favorite line to approach girls is I tried that and it worked. I'm literally standing at the crossroads and there's a super hot chick. The first one was a lawyer. I look at her like, hey, so why do you want to have 7 kids with me? They're like, wait, what? And they know immediately it's game on. The chick that I was talking about, like she's a bioengineer, she works on DNA and shit like that. So I asked her, here it is. What fictional character would you like to be reincarnated into? I asked that in Japanese. And she said, I'm translating. Interesting question. I want to be a dog on a leash led by a rich man. And she said, how about you? I want to be a dog whisperer pouring champagne into a dog bowl. It's like, next Wednesday.
That is amazing. I love that. That is such a fantastic question because that's actually something that I've been working with one of our guys. He's been developing this entire method that is very similar to that, where it forces a response and it sparks their imagination. And from that, I mean, you saw the presentation when we gave you guys like the initial point. We've developed it even further from there. But oh, dude, isn't that amazing?
And again,
because
this is one of those
guys, remember, the G spot of a woman is not downstairs; it's right here. Yeah. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, and like one, I love that's a wild story. And was a great question. But two, this is also like kind of harping on some other earlier points, right? This is again one of those where understand, guys, like nuance. So what is being outlined in this rule, there is a lot of truth to it, and it is that dynamic. But again, like perception and nuance, right? Because there's plenty of examples out there of where some guy wasn't paying attention and went past a certain line, and then that's where it all blows up in your face, and then it's wrecked for everybody. So it's extremely, extremely important that, again, you keep this kind of in the back of your head, and you understand that, okay, if you're just that guy you're out with a girl and you're supposed to be on a date and everything, make your intent known, where it's like, hey, I think you're an attractive individual, and I view this relationship as a potentially sexual relationship, not as a platonic one. Because there's a lot of women that I've worked with, and they've said that, I go out with this guy and like he didn't even try to kiss me that night, and so it's like, all right, like very clearly a lot of guys are very locked up in fear. So, again, there's a very fine line with every individual situation, but, again, make your intentions known, but also be cognizant and aware of where that line is. But again, you have to at some point, right, start to engage the interaction and engage the relationship in a more sexual dynamic. So if you're just purely platonic because you're locked in this bubble of fear, you're never going to go anywhere. Nothing's ever going to happen. You're both going to have a really bad time. So, make those intents known and just be wary of the line as you're progressing.
Yeah, you gotta stand by what you're presenting. And I think that's a lot of the issues that guys have, is that they want to be the bad boy. They want to like get what they want, but then they don't stand by it in the past. Laurent, you had something to add to it?
It was Cary Grant, right? Cary Grant was an English actor. He was Alfred Hitchcock's favorite actor. He played in the movie The Bird and many other Hitchcock movies. And this guy was like a Hollywood Casanova. He had a notch count 2,000, by his own count, it was 2,300 and so on and so forth. And he said, when a woman says no, I'm hearing not yet. So it means that always push the envelope. And I was surprised. And there's a guy in Tokyo, his name is Pami, and he pushes the envelope like he really, really, really escalates really rapidly. He doesn't even take the girl's numbers. And this guy's an enormous notch count. And the idea there is always push the envelope. And you'd be surprised about the stuff that you can get away with. And it's true that in this era of Me Too, you got to be really careful because, but girls, there's a difference. If you're confident and assertive and like, okay, when she says no, all right, hold back. She means not yet. You're gonna get there in 5-10 minutes, but just give yourself give yourself the breathing time. And push the envelope because girls respect that. They might say no in the end, you might not get the action, but they will respect you regardless because they see a man who's not afraid. Women put guys in the friend zone, and women meet to guys who ask for permission, but they never meet to a guys who claim a woman. Does it make sense?
Does. Yeah, no, it's interesting. When it comes to this, that's one of the biggest things that I have an issue with is that this is pushed out that like go ahead and be more, I don't know if abrasive is the right word, but be more cocky. I mean, this is where cocky comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aggressive. Yeah.
Doing more than is necessary. That is huge problem that goes on. And there isn't the nuance associated to it. And I think you guys understand the nuance. And just for everybody else, like there is a nuance. There's nothing wrong with this list, but if you've only listened to, and again, this is nothing against Fresh and Fit because I love Myron and Walt to death. But if you just listen to that, or you just listen to the whatever podcast, and you're not actually listening to the actionable information from books like Paul's, which I have right here. Oh, man. Oh, everything I wish I knew when I was 18.
You got a special edition. Those are all sold out, man. Yeah. That was a limited special edition.
Look at that. Look at that. So books like this, and then I got Thor's over there, so I'm not going to get up and grab it, but let's show it next time. Instead of just listening to the information and then going with it, actually experience it in real life. And I think that's the biggest thing that gets lost nowadays. Ever since we did lockdown and everybody was stuck at home, then we just kind of lost that type of communication between people. But regardless, I could go down an entire rabbit hole right now. I want to close out with the rest of this list. So after that, this is going to be an interesting one for you guys. Now, this rule is fuck her good. Let me ask you guys, have you ever read The Sex God Method?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We are not. Go ahead, Laurent.
Is it Devi Dominate? Like, yeah. It's a short Asian dude, like fairly buff. Yeah. I like his style. Yeah, I like his style, man.
We have a special for you guys. We're not going to dive into this one. I'm still going to like read it out. We're not going to dive into it, but The Sex God Method is my personal favorite book that has ever been released in this space. And with the Sex God Method, as we're going through this entire history of like how we came to be, like what is the manosphere? What is red pill? What is PUA? Like, why are men so angry? Rah, 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 rah. That's what we're going through. And the sex god method may actually just be what you need to completely change your dating life. Now, what I will say about it, because we won't get into it today, because we're just finishing the 16 Commandments of Pook or Poon. Number 14. Fuck her like it's your last fuck. And hers. Fuck her so good, so hard, so wantonly. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but I don't know. You were talking about
I think it's wantonly. Wantonly.
I was thinking about short Asian guys. I wasn't sure. So okay. I'm not. She is left quivering, sparkling mass of shaking flesh and sex fluids. Drain her of everything, and then drain her some more. Kiss her all over. Make love to her all night, and hold her close in the morning. Own her body. Own her gratitude. Own her love. If you don't know how, learn to give her squirting orgasms. Now, the reason why I don't necessarily want to dive super deep into this one is because the sex god method is going to really explain some of this stuff. And again, as we pull back to what we were talking about earlier, guys tend to be kind of like autistic when it comes to this type of stuff, where they want it in a line, but it's not always in a line. And I think that this entire commandment, and then the book that I would consider as directly associated, kind of gives you that information and explains to you why it's not linear.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just going to blow past it. Maintain your state control. You are an oak tree. You will not be manipulated by crying, by yelling, by lying, by head games, by sexual withdrawal, by jealousy plays, by pity plays, by shit tests, by hot, cold, by disappearing acts, or by guilt trips. She will rain and thunder all around you, and you will shelter her until her storm passes. She will not drag you into her chaos or uproot you. When you have mastery over yourself, you will have mastery over her. Stoicism 101. Who wants to go ahead and take it first? Because I want your guys' thoughts on this, because this requires a lot of self-control.
Okay, so here's one. Oren Taraban, the guy from Psychax, had a fantastic hack, and I use it. Is when a woman like, I hate you, blah, 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 blah. Just use those two things first. I hate you, you're an asshole. I don't want to. I'm feeling, put before whatever the fuck she said, whatever comes out of the facial sphincter, put right before that, I am feeling that you are an asshole, blah, 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 blah. In the beginning of the sentence, and at the end of the sentence is right now. You're an asshole, I hate you, you don't listen to me. I am feeling that, yeah, you're an asshole, you don't listen to me right now. And then when you put this in before and after, whatever comes out of her facial sphincters, oh, she's just having one of her moment. All right. Keep going. Pass me the soul, please. Does it make sense?
Oh, I love that. That is so fantastic. And I think that gets lost a lot. Like, whenever I read this commandment, I always think about stoicism. And that gets lost. Women are erratic. They live in the moment. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. They're just different. They just function differently than we do. But it's up to us to, recognize that. And it makes sense when to take things personally, and then it makes sense when to not. And a lot of the times, it does not make sense to take that neuroticism at times personally. It just doesn't. Paul, what do you think about it?
This comes down to frame, and this is iron rule Tomasi number 1, frame is everything. And you always got to be paying attention to whose frame you're operating in. And if you have a strong enough frame, you can maintain your state control. She's going to fall into your frame. And that's paramount in a relationship if you're going to be the one that sets the tone and leads the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to be the one who wants to set the tone, well, then set the tone. It really is that simple, guys. Josh, you had something to say?
Yeah, it just kind of goes back to my earlier example that I used about like, hey, if you're the trainer that's on the land and you're dealing with the orca that's in the swimming pool, right? It's understand that level of that emotional tirade of the water. She's going to, as soon as you go down there and get in the water, you're 100% out of your element and you're 100% on their territory. They're going to swim circles around you. They're going to bat you around. They're going to drown you. Like there's just no way that you can fully possibly navigate that living space. So it's extremely important, to Paul's point, maintain your frame. And again, just understand that it's very temporary, because again, this I think is probably the most important of all the commandments, is just maintaining that frame, but also that state control and your own self-mastery. Because again, you're always going to get it where, things seem like they're going great, and then out of the blue, something pops up, or something that should be a small deal, suddenly blows up to a big deal. How you react to that, one, not only shows your own level of self-mastery, but also for her, the level of confidence that she can have in you. Because if you're constantly getting pulled into those emotional depths and you're fighting and arguing and angry and you're yelling back, as the guys, we never win that situation, that scenario, right? Even if we win the argument, we still lose the war. So it's just, one, not worth it. But then two, it also just goes to showcase, hey, do you have that level of self-discipline where, all right, they're going to throw this, this, and this at you, but you're still going to remain on course, on your mission, on your purpose, unfazed, undistracted, right? So there's a slight time and a place where sometimes it may warrant it, right? Where it's, hey, something dealing with kids, right? This is a very different scenario. But a lot of guys, right, just on the day-to-day, they just get completely, torpedo relationships because they start getting into dumb fights or dumb arguments, and it just starts draining them. But also they're just, again, not mastering themselves, which goes to show their partner or the girls that they're dealing with that, oh, okay, well, this guy doesn't have everything together or his ducks in a row, because again, I can very easily throw him for a loop at any point in time. If he can't even stand up to this, how is he possibly going to stand up to something that's really big that could potentially affect the both of us and down the line?
That's such a good point. This is the Robert Glover, No More Mr. Nice Guy. If you can stand up to me, how can I know that you can stand up for me? So yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Josh, the voice of wisdom. And besides, I could listen to you. I mean, you could talk about the weather all night and I'll be like, oh, Josh, yes. Yeah, such a captivating voice.
Appreciate it. Is he banned?
Well, I would add too, though, this is something that every man should use in every aspect of his life. Staying in control, especially during conflicts. Remaining calm is a trait that every man needs to master. Now, when it comes to women, yeah, if they're screaming, they're yelling, and you're remaining composed, first, it might amplify them a little bit more to see what they can get out of you. But when they're done, if you can just calmly look at them and say, are you finished? Are you ready to talk about this like adults? And shut them down. That's going to build her respect for you a lot faster than you matching her energy. A big thing that I try to do in all relationship is never raise my voice. So that way, when I do have to raise my voice, they know it's serious. Almost like over apologizing. When you over apologize, it doesn't mean anything. But if you get to the point that you do have to elevate your voice just a little bit, it means a lot. But staying emotionally controlled and composed whether it be your career, relationships, everyday life. If you have flat tire and you can't get the lug nut off, do you throw the lug wrench and break a window? Or you just say, okay, we got to find a way to attack this. All we can do is fix it. We can't change it. This is something that every man should be able to master and stay in control, especially in tough situations.
I think that's a really good point, and that's something that I've kind of been thinking about as we come to conclusion on the last one here. There's been many times where there have been arguments and stupid fights that have occurred, where as long as I held my ground, within reason, holding your ground, remaining stoic, not matching the emotion, because when you match the emotion, a lot of times, boom, you can go ahead and really escalate a situation that is not necessary to do so. Where at the end of that entire argument, and even after like brief separation or whatever, then your partner is coming back and they're the one apologizing because they're realizing that they were actually the one who was out of line. So I think that is incredibly important with as we kind of like discuss this and like get deeper into it. And that kind of actually perfectly leads into the final one. Never be afraid to lose her. You must not fear. Fear is the love killer. Fear is the ego triumph that brings abject loneliness. You will face your fear. You will permit it to pass over and through you. And when your ego fear is gone, you will turn and face your lover, and only your heart will remain. You will walk away from her when she has violated your integrity, and you will let her walk when her heart is closed to you. She who can destroy you controls you. Don't give her that power over yourself. Love yourself before you love her. Paul, I want to come to you first.
Yeah, man, this is the cardinal rule of relationships, right? That Rollo talks about. Whoever needs the other person the least has all the power in the relationship.
Yes.
And a lot of guys have this attachment. They have this attachment to their girl, and they are absolutely devastated. They get zeroed out when the chick is ready to leave. And then likewise, they develop such an ego investment in their relationship that when she's treating him poorly, he doesn't have the strength to leave because he's like, at least it's better than being out there on the dating apps or whatever. And so he's stuck there, and he's basically a prisoner in his own relationship, a prisoner of his own making. So if you could develop this, I call it being lovingly detached. If you can develop a state of being lovingly detached in a relationship to where if things aren't acting right, you're not afraid to walk away. And if she leaves, well, then you have an abundant mindset with women anyway, and you know you can get another one. So it's not a big deal. You'll never get zeroed out if you have that mentality. And the truth is, when you let go of that attachment to outcome, you're more likely to keep her around because you're not going to be such a needy little bitch.
Oh, I love it. It really is. It's fascinating. Like what you had said that loving detachment. Is that how you put it?
Lovingly detached.
Lovingly detached.
Yeah, I learned that. That's a Dr. Robert Gloverism as well. I learned that in Dating Essentials for Men. He talks about being lovingly detached.
That's one thing that I've kind of learned is that, no matter how much I love my girl and, maybe I think about her more than you should in the red pill, like, I don't know, whatever the hell.
Red pill's not about shoulds. We try to get rid. We don't like shoulding all over people in red pill.
But it's interesting because that's kind of how I've treated my relationship, and she's going to be my wife. She's going to be the mother of my children. And this is the most beautiful relationship I've ever had in my entire life. And that was an aspect of it. was the lovingly detached, knowing that, I'm still on my own, but at least let people know that you can lose them, but know that you can do things to keep them. So that's just something to think about. But anybody else have something to say on that?
What about doing something to keep them? One thing that I learned from the great Ryan Stone, the world's best red pill couch. He has perfect teeth. He has 3 books. Fuck that guy. Anyway, he
and he's also Canadian.
We can't all be perfect, But no, so he said that, and I didn't quite understand this when he first told me, but he's like, relationships are the woman's job. It's her job to keep you. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, there's all these things that we have to do as men. Like, we have a burden of performance, and he's like, what that really comes down to is it's a mindset that it's her job to maintain the relationship. Leave that up to her. Don't be so focused on the relationship. Be focused on your purpose. Don't be so focused on keeping her. That's her job. And relationships, we are supposed to be the gatekeepers of relationship. If that's the case, then it's not your job to keep her around. It's her job to lock you down. So if you have that kind of mentality, that also goes in line with this commandment, because you're not afraid to let her go if she's not trying to keep you around.
So. Yeah, no, I like that a lot, because it kind of like reminds me, like, if she's not annoying you to come over and stay at your place or like be around you, then maybe it's not there yet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like, looking back at my relationship that I've been in, it's been like wild, like thinking about it, where she lived with me for 8 months. 8 months without actually living with me, just because she wanted to be there every day. I mean, that's a girl that is down for the cause. I'm curious, Josh, what are your thoughts on this, never being afraid to lose her?
Yeah, it's one, I like the way it's just hilarious that this entire rule is basically like reworded from one of the like more core quotes from Dune. So those of you guys that like seen it or read it, everybody knows exactly. You're like, okay, yeah, this dude was definitely very well versed in the nerdverse. So, and hey, he owns it. So he was able to repurpose it. So I thought that was entertaining. But 2, I think the key thing that comes from it is that last line, which is, you need to love yourself first before you can then love her. That, I think, is just like kind of the key foundation of everything. Because if you don't have that level of self-love and level of self-respect, then that's where a lot of that fear of losing this other person comes from, right? It's because it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough self-love for myself that I can be okay and stand on my own. Like, I need some sort of validation from somewhere else. And yeah, not saying that, if you go through a breakup, right, or you have a girl that you really liked and it doesn't work out, that it doesn't suck, that it doesn't hurt, that, especially if you've been with that person for a very long time and, you go in separate directions or you wind up losing them through some other, however, it does suck. But at the same point in time is that you can't let that fear of it rule or dictate your actions, because more often than not, the more afraid we are to lose something, the more subconsciously we start doing things that wind up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we wind up losing that thing we're so very afraid.
Law of attraction, except in the opposite way.
Exactly. So 100% you want to, again, you can have concerns, right? But at the same point and same token, if you let that fear rule and dictate what it is that you do, often the fear of something is greater than the thing actually in and of itself. So, just be mindful of that self, but always come back to that place of self-love. And that's what will help you maintain a much healthier your frame and get your chances of, her rubbing off much more drastically reduced. But at the same time, again, if someone does not want to be with you, hey, you do have to let them go.
Yep.
That's good points. Kevin, you want to weigh in at all?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it says itself, never be afraid to lose her. By demonstrating that you're not overly attached or dependent, you do create an impression of high value and self-respect, and you have to have that. And that's a big thing. If a woman comes to you and says, "Hey, I don't want to be with you anymore," she means it. That's probably not a shit test. So
and most women won't either. Like we talk about, they decide to that they're going to break up with you months before it actually happens. Yeah, because they don't want confrontation, and that makes sense. It's fair enough.
Yeah, and they've set up a backup plan, and they've got their thing. So you need to have yourself as a man in a position that you're not going to be out on the streets. You don't have anywhere to go. You're going to be sleeping on your sister's couch. As a man, you have to have yourself set up that when she does say that to you and she means it, you can just say, "I understand. I wish you the best." And like Josh said, yeah, if you've been together for a while, you do have feelings. It's going to suck. There's nothing wrong with being hurt. There's nothing wrong with, having some emotional things going on inside your head, but it goes back to maintaining a state of control. You don't get mad. You don't throw things. You don't call her names. You don't chase her. You say, "I understand. I wish you the best."
I think that's fantastic. Yeah, that's the biggest thing when it comes to all of this. I mean, God, it's basic boundary setting. Let's be honest here. This is basic boundary setting. This is what I want in my relationship. Either you fit into those boundaries or you don't. And if you push out of them, okay, am I willing to extend my boundaries or not? Like, let's be realistic with them. But guys, we officially have gone through the 16 commandments of Poon. And I love it. And I am so excited to see where we're going to go from here, because we're really doing a full deep dive into the entire history. For those of us, I mean, most of us here are kind of old heads when it comes to the space, going through everything from the very beginning where it was just people talking in forums, to then PUA, to then red pill kind of ideology, then moving forward into now where we're at, with content creation and these in-person boot camps. And we're going through every single person that has existed and that has had an impact. So, Paul, you will have an episode at one point. Just letting you know.
Fair. Okay.
Oh, wow. So humble. So we're going to be going through all of this. And what we're going to be doing from here, just so you guys can kind of stay tuned if this is something that you're interested in, we're going to be going through, we've already done the base before PUA, then post PUA, and then we're going to be doing kind of the creation of the red pill, or the classification of the red pill, I guess maybe would be a better way to put it, and where all these ideas and thought processes came from. And we're going to be highlighting every single person that's been a part of it. We're going to be talking about Rollo Tomasi and the Rational Male. We're going to be talking about the 21 Con and your president of the Manosphere. And we're
He's not my president. He's not my president.
Not my president. We're going to be diving into everything. And I think it's important because let's be honest here. For most guys, they find this content nowadays because they're on TikTok. They're finding random stuff and it leads them somewhere, and then they listen to it, and then it's whatever. But they don't know the history. The history is what is important. I don't know if you guys know, Rule 0, that shit's fucking garbage. It's Red Man Group. This guy Paul's been lying to you. It's been Red Man Group from the very start. And Paul, you want to tell us about this lie?
That it's, well, I mean, it did start as the Red Man group, you know, Rollo and Rich and the original Rule Zero guys were in this group with the 21 Convention guys, and they would do a panel show called the Red Man Group. And then when there was this rift in the manosphere, and like half the people went with Team Rollo, and then the other half went with Team what's the name, Anthony Johnson or whatever.
The president
the president of the manosphere. Yeah, so when that stuff went down, there was a huge split in the space, and so Ryan and Rollo were like, "Hey, fuck those guys. We're going to start our own show," and they started Rule Zero. And Rule Zero, the name of it, Rule Zero, actually comes from the Red Pill subreddits, and it's the rule before all other rules. And all it really means, and this is really the heart of Red Pill, is that they're there for male sexual strategy and positive male identity. That's it. That's what Red Pill really is. It's not about holding Whammon accountable. It's not about handing him White Claws and kicking him off podcasts and shit. It's not it's not Kevin Samuels and whatever. That's what it is. It's men's sexual strategy and a positive male identity. And so that's
be attractive. Don't be unattractive.
Yeah. But that's not Rule Zero though. That's just one of our tenets, you know. Rule Zero is what I said.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to know the history of the space, because, you know, one, the cheat codes for the future are buried in the past, but two, it's just that broader context. So again, understanding the context and things. And so, you know, if you really play back these rules right here, you can really see the sub architecture of all the very core beliefs that everyone in the space has these days, right? Or a lot of the core tenets that are espoused. All of that is evolved from this, which is kind of one of the, you know, formulative source code documents of this whole entire space. So that's what kind of makes it exciting too, is just reliving a lot of this stuff. Because again, you're winding the clock back, and this stuff isn't that old, right? It feels like, oh, this is stuff guys have known like forever. It's like, reality, if you run this clock back, you know, over 15, maybe 16-year span, now you're really starting to see like the genesis of it all and where it's all emerging out of the primordial soup. So, you know, this is why, you know, the 16 Commandments, this is one of those sort of core tenets of where the ideas and the philosophies were sourced. So all of the things that you guys, you know, espouse or know to be true or whatever these days, all of it is coming out of this. So when you understand that, then you get the broader context, but also, you know, to Paul's point, you get what the real original purpose of it is. And so that, to me, is, I think, is the biggest casualty in what's happened throughout the kind of history of it, is, again, that core purpose and idea of like, hey, you know, at the end of the day, we're just, you know, trying to make guys better guys. We've kind of lost that idea. So stay tuned, because we got a lot more.
Yeah, I'm very much excited for it. Wait, Paul, what was that? Can I see that again?
This right here, this is book one. This is book one in Red Pill canon. This thing came out in like 2000, I think, is the first edition of this came out. If you go to the Married Red Pill subreddit, the sidebar of all the recommended reading, that's book one. It's not Rollo's book. It's that one.
Yeah, no more Mr. Nice Guy. I cannot recommend that enough. Doubling down on what Paul just said. It really does help you, especially if you have issues with codependency. No more Mr. Nice Guy is going to set you straight.
Yeah, especially if you do all the exercises. That's one of the things that I have my coaching clients do, is go through and actually do all the exercises that are in it. A lot of people are like, what exercises? What are you talking about? I've read that book. I was the same way. I read it. I think I read it twice, and I didn't even, like, I sort of glanced over the exercises because I do everything on Audible. And I was listening to Rob Says, who's another guy in the space, and he was like, yeah, you got to make sure you do the exercises in that book. And I'm like, there's exercises? So I had to read it again. And I was like, oh shit, there's a whole bunch of exercises in this book that will really unfuck you. It will really unfuck you if you do all these these exercises. And a lot of guys, this is what like Laurent and Ryan Fowler are really good at, is we have such bad wiring in us just because of this nice guy syndrome and being raised in the gynocentric social order that we're raised in, that we have a lot to reprogram. We have a lot of work to do on ourselves, and a lot of guys don't even realize it.
Yeah, and that's, I think, what makes it so important, to find kind of like that sort of community. Because again, that's what a lot of guys were, meandering towards. Where it's like we're dissatisfied where we are in life, or just the results that we're getting out of it. So we need to be somewhere where we can kind of compare notes, compare strategies, but also just see how we can tailor a lot of this stuff in ways that make sense for us individually. So that's why, again, I'm super passionate about, hey, if you're out there, if you're watching this cast, hopefully there's a group out there that, you can find and you can leverage. But again, you're always more than welcome to come join us here at the Men of Now group. Paul's has his beer club that you can join. There's a lot of these different types of groups that are out there that can help you really source and suss out how you can take all this stuff and really make it actionable for you in a way that's going to enable you to build out the type of lifestyle that you want and you see and envision for yourself, rather than trying to be a carbon copy clone of somebody else. So that's a really important and key thing, and that we're all pretty passionate about here. Is that, again, we want everybody to be the best individual version of who it is they can be. So highly encourage you guys to, again, check out different groups and see which ones are a good fit. And again, here, Men of Now, you're always welcome to talk to us. And if you're not the right fit, we're more than happy to help you figure out, where it might be the best fit for you as well. Because, or if you're a part of another group and you want to join ours too, great. Because again, we're very much like, hey, be in as many groups as you need to be in, because each one has its own specialty that can really offer you and help benefit you. So that's my little soapbox plug.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited, to be honest. Like I really am so excited. I know, Paul, we do the Dragon Ship, and Laurent as well. We do the Dragon Ship together every single Saturday, and it is just so great to reach so many different people. And we have our own individual communities as well that we continue to push these guys forward, and they can actually live the lives that they always wanted to live. And that is what is so exciting with this. As we just continue onwards with everything, it really is going to be it's going to be a cool thing. And again, no one's going to be butthurt. No one's going to be upset if you choose one group over another, because we all work together. We all work together. And that's what it's all about. Is like, why? And that's one thing that we were talking about, Josh, yesterday, is how the space got divided for some reason when the space was created to unite. So how do we unite it again? And that's what we're doing. So with that, we have covered everything. We do need to hop to our Zoom call, but I do want to do a roundtable, and I'm going to start with you, Josh, and we're going to go wrap up from there. Final thoughts? Anything you want to say on this?
Yeah, I mean, my last thoughts on it are just, when you break down the ideas to their core, then you can kind of see where a lot of the nuance is. So that's why I've been very excited to revisit this topic, because, as you were saying, for a lot of the old heads, this is something that, again, was our sort of first entryway and foray into these kind of ideas and concepts, and seeing them evolve has been exciting. So, but again, this is just the starting point. Like, there's so many more exciting places to go. So I'm very excited for that.
Good stuff. All right, Mr. Laurent. Oh!
I'm in the middle of, I was in the middle of reading mails for work. So roundtable, final thoughts. Yes, this is something really sad that the space being so divided. I mean, it's interesting because we're supposed to be alpha and stoics and whatnot, and then we have petty quarrels, petty skirmishes that make us look weak and beta.
It's Mean Girls. What do you mean? It's just Mean Girls. I'm just Lindsay Lohan having fun.
I need shoes and chocolate. So anyhow,
you go, Glen Coco.
Go girl, go queen. So yeah, things I've been working on at the moment is with Ryan Fowler, the hypnotherapist. We've been working on this fantastic product about approach anxiety. And for instance, like I mean, now it's no longer an issue with yours truly. Like I said, like the two Japanese twins, the Austin Powers, like fuck me, fuck you guys. Yeah, go talk to them and make everybody laugh. And it's a game changer, especially in this era of Me Too, where guys are, and it's important for divorce dads. So we've been working on this project, and the product is coming up soon. So we need your help, gentlemen. We need your help because we're not dating coaches. I'm certainly not one. I don't want to be. Neither is Ryan Fowler. So we need your help. We're looking for affiliates. We're looking for introduction. We're looking for people to partner with. And this is going to be fun. This is a product that it was needed 1,000 years ago. This is a product that will be needed 1,000 years from now. It's an evergreen, and it's something that once you master this, once approaching people it's not daunting anymore. It's just, yeah, well, you approach, you fail, you get rejected, move on, next. It's really it's a superpower. It's a superpower because it brings about this life of abundance. And this is we're talking about life of abundance in work. Okay, make money, put on muscle, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, if you do all this and don't approach chicks, guess what? You're effectively sterile. Your bloodline ends with you. So we're really solving a real problem here, and we're making it fun. I mean, as you can see, like I'm the picture perfect serious dude, right? All right, that was my 2 cents. So here we go, gentlemen.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely. And I'm going to double down on that before we move on. Ryan Fowler, absolutely fantastic in the work that he does. And what Ryan is doing alongside Laurent, that is definitely something to look into. Because Laurent, right? Isn't it free to join?
Our community is entirely free. So we have a free community. At the end of the day, we get a kick out of people changing life. Like, for instance, there was one dude, his name is Mike, and we featured him. He took the free product and he solved his approach anxiety. And this guy's a good-looking fellow with a decent job. And he said, like, wait a minute. Like, I took the free product and I approached 2 girls. And this guy's never approached girls. And now he's rocking it. He's rocking it. So like I told him yesterday, we had a training yesterday. Like I told him, Mike, you remember Kevin Samuels, right? You know what he says? I'll make you famous. So the free product kicks ass already, but when it's specialized, we share 98% of our DNA with the chimpanzees
and bananas.
And bonobos, bonobos are extraordinarily
promiscuous. No, bananas. It's interesting because we share like 90% with bananas.
Now I know where I'm coming from. Thank you. I appreciate that. But so the free product kicks us already, and besides, it's a super cheap stuff. The interesting part is that we don't teach game at all. Like you need dating coaches. But we don't teach people how to box like Mike Tyson. We teach them how we remove the fear of getting in the ring with Mike Tyson to get your smile rearranged for good. I hope he rearranges Jake Paul. I hope he stops that motherfucker.
That's gonna be an interesting one, and I will correct myself. It's only 50%, but still, you are 50% a banana. Think about that. All right, Kevin, let's go to you.
Yeah, just real quick. We've talked about it. The importance of these groups. In the beginning, they had forums because you didn't have the technology you have today, and they all came together to create a community, to help each other out, to help each other level up, whether it be dating or something else. That's why groups are so important. Have someone to bounce your ideas off of and get feedback. We can recommend every book out there. Don't have somebody to discuss it with. You might take it totally wrong. That's why groups are so important. And there are some good ones out there. I've been members of other groups. Now we have the Men of Now. I think that's what makes us a little special, is because we come from aspects of a lot of different groups to form one. And we're not just about dating. We're also about business. We're about personal finance. We're about leveling up at work, leveling up in your personal life. Josh is a great lifestyle coach. If you need some help with your style, he's got you. And we bring all that into one group. And that's what I love about it. But my main thing is, I can read all the books in the world. If I don't have somebody to explain a lot of it to me, just like someone that's just in the space reads the 16 Commandments of Poon, you might get some of them totally wrong, and it's going to mess up your confidence because it's not working the way you thought it was going to work in your head. But if you've got a group of guys that you can bounce your ideas off of and get opinions and get advice and get guidance, it's only going to help you get there faster. That's why groups like ours are so important.
I love that, Kevin. Like, that is the truth. That is the truth. Whether it be, because you've seen us, Men of Now right here. You've seen the Dragon Ship. You've seen Beer Club with Paul. It doesn't matter who you join, what you want to do, because we're all trying to unify again. We're trying to unify, and we're trying to level everybody up, because we all want to win at the end of the day, right? So let's win together, because it's better to win together than to lose apart, right? So I would definitely recommend you guys to go ahead and check out all the different communities. Men of Now is linked below. Paul, if you did want to go ahead and throw out, how about you give an advertisement for Beer Club? Let's hear
it. Man, Beer Club. I mean, the reason why I created Beer Club, it was a place for guys to swap notes, but really it's an idea that comes from this book. Dr. Robert Glover just talks about how important it is for men to connect with other men. And so that's really what Beer Club is. It's just a simple, easily accessible. It's only $10 a month. And it's just so that guys can get together and connect with other men, because men need it. And we need it for our own mental health. And a lot of guys don't have that. They don't have a group of guys they can go to with their problems. They bring their problems to their girl. Your girl don't give a shit about your problems, man. I hate to break it to you. She might want to care. She might think that she cares, but she's just not wired biologically to care about your struggles. She wants you to be a man and fix your own shit. And so if you're just constantly dumping your baggage on her because you have no one else to talk to, she's going to lose attraction for you, and she's going to leave you eventually. So you just save that shit. Save that shit for the boys. Beer Club is a perfect place for that. We get together once a month, and we literally just, it's like a bar. We have drinks. We sit there and just talk about whatever's on our mind. One of my guys, after one of my episodes on gratitude practice, created a subgroup that Beer Club members are, it's available to them, where they can practice gratitude. In gratitude practice, it's super beneficial to your mental health. Most guys don't even know that that's a thing. So
no, hold on, Paul. You're talking about energies and stuff. Putting out good energy into the world actually reaps beneficial results.
Well, what it does, I mean, if you want to take the woo-woo shit out of it, which don't get me wrong, dude, I'm all about that woo-woo. But if you want to take the woo-woo stuff out of it, what it does is it causes you to mentally come into the present moment and realize that things aren't as bad as you think they are. Because what happens is a lot of guys start worrying about their future, so they develop anxiety. They start worrying about shit in the past, so they develop depression. All that shit exists in your mind. It's not even real. But right now, this very present moment is the only thing that's real. And so if you stop and focus on gratitude, you can't mentally be anxious. You can't mentally be feeling depressed when you're focused on gratitude. It's physically impossible. It's mentally impossible. So having guys do that every day, where it just forces them to stop and start thinking about what's good in their life, right? Oh, this cup of coffee right now. Thank God for coffee. And you don't even have to be religious to be grateful in general, man. Like, I'm just grateful that I have a shirt on my back and that I don't have to walk around naked, just anything. So it's super beneficial. And when guys start practicing it, they start noticing more positive things start showing up for them in life. And it's like you might say, yeah, it's magic, it's woo-woo, but it's not. It's just because you start carrying yourself differently.
I can 100% double down on that. It really is bizarre how energy works and how your aspect or your your perspective on life affects the life that you have. There's a reason why when you go ahead and you have a negative perspective on life, that negative things happen. If you go ahead and think about the worst case scenario, you subconsciously will lead yourself to the worst case scenario. So it's very important to pay attention to that. But we've been going on for a while. I'm very excited for what's going on forward. We're going to be doing, we'll figure out exactly how we want to do it. But I think it might be Book of Pook. I think it's going to be Return of Kings. And then it's going to be Christian McQueen, for those who may not know who he is. He is, I used to take shits at work and read his articles every single, whatever it was, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I loved it. And he really helped my game. But we're really going through all the roots of what caused where we're at today. So it's going to be very exciting. Definitely stay tuned. If you do want to join any of these groups, definitely reach out to me. You can either join from that link right there, menofnow.us. You can message me on Instagram at the Hudsman. If you want to join a separate group, like if you want to join with what Paul was talking about, go ahead and reach out to him. Paul, what is your Instagram again, or what's the best way for people to reach you?
Well, if you want to join the beer club, you go to beer.comeonmanpod.com. You can sign up there. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'm at Come On Man Podcast on Instagram.
All right, fantastic. All right. So I think that's about it. I'm really excited to see where this goes because yeah, we may not be that old, but we kind of are that old because the internet moves fast. So there's a lot of history here that it's going to be exciting to dive into. But thank you guys. This was an absolutely phenomenal conversation. And thank you to everybody who has listened. And we are dropping to the private Zoom. Peace out, everybody.